Hey everybody, welcome to the Fired Up with CJ show. I am so fired up. I'm going to be talking to Byron Katie, and we're going to be talking about one of her best-selling books, Loving What Is. This is a classic, I think. I just talked to the person who is doing construction in our house, and he's like, "I have that book. Like everyone has this book." I'm, s- you must be happy. But when you think, God, everyone has my book, does that? What does that do for you? And you just think about like, wow, this work is out there.
Well, I can't, this may sound a little strange, but I can't take a lot of responsibility for it. It's like just because I have the book doesn't mean that I'm experiencing what the book directs me to.
Mm,
So, and the book is all about inquiry.
mm,
So when someone says they have the book, what can that mean to me?
right.
Where I'm at is what does it mean to them? And um, and when they're really happy to have, I hear they're really happy to have the book, then it means everything to me because that's just like saying, I understand how to question these judgments in my life that are just causing this unhappiness
Mm-hmm.
and for some of us depression
Mm-hmm.
and that goes into misunderstandings that cause
Mm,
divorce and arguments with our children and a lack of hearing and connection with each other.
mm,
But it doesn't take two people, for example, to connect. Like if you're talking to me, it doesn't take, let's say we're arguing, it doesn't take both of us to have to connect, just one of us.
mm-hmm. That's a good
So if,
point.
if I'm connected, I can hear you, I'm listening, I understand, I'm connected, and we always join in that.
Mm,
You
mm,
know,
mm-hmm.
inside of me, we're joined, and and I love our time together. And rather than leaving a conversation like, I wonder if they're angry at me, or I wonder if anyway, without wondering, you're just connected
Right.
as connected.
Yeah.
But the power of inquiry, it leaves us as, basically in service and how can I help?
Yeah. When you mentioned some of the things that, the places where we live all the time of depression, or not where we live all the time, but some of us live,
Uh-huh.
depression, yelling at our kids. And in your book, you talk about your own experience where you describe yourself in rage, paranoia, despair, and describe yourself as being depressed on a downward spiral for
Oh,
10 years. I mean, it's,
just, if I were to tell the truth, it was much more than a decade. I was so lost for so long. I mean, it takes, for me, I can see now all the all the confusion in my own head and the people I hurt that
mm,
thankfully I've been able to make it up to. And
mm,
so when I think of them, I'm not back in that agony. I have a whole new experience. I have friends as
mm,
opposed to people that I've hurt in my life. And um, when I think of them, we have it together.
mm.
It's
Oh, you
kind
mean
of
the
like
experience, you think of it as like we shared this
we're
experience
friends.
together.
We're friends.
Hmm.
And inside of me, you know, it's right with me, and they say it is with them for them too. And
Hmm.
they keep inviting me back, so I'm just assuming it's all good.
So you had this experience, and then you describe in the book that you were on the floor. Something said February of 1986. You woke up on the floor with all of a sudden you had no concept of who you were or what you were, and that there was no you.
Yes, and there was no fear in that because you have to believe you're a you before you can be frightened.
Right.
So there was absolutely no fear.
Huh.
So I can write that and say that, but it comes after the fact. It
Hmm.
was later that I could see, oh my gosh, just behind me, there was, I was without identity. There was no identity. But in that moment, I watch your beautiful face, your eyes tracking this. It would be like I just experienced this moment without identity.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm talking about the moment past.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
The reason I was tracking is I had a period of time when I would fall asleep, and then all of a sudden I'd go into what all I could do is describe as a void, where is nothing, no one, and I'd say, where am I? And I would look for my hands and they wouldn't be there. I would
yes,
have a thought and like it wasn't a thought. I can't
yes,
explain it. So that's why I was tracking that. I was like, oh,
yeah,
so that's when you woke up at that moment. I don't know how to describe, but all those experiences are so hard to describe. But it sounds
yeah.
like you kind of arrived at that kind of void place where you weren't even
Well,
there
what
anymore.
happened in that moment on the floor was I was just there was something witnessing
Mm-hmm.
and looking back
Right.
and 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 then all of a sudden there were windows and I could see through the window a sky and I could see the floor and the walls and all of a sudden there was a world. But what I
Mm.
saw in that moment was before I would name window, sky, etc., they didn't exist. So it takes an image and a story, an
Ah.
image and identification.
Uh-huh.
Before it can exist, we have to believe it before we can see it.
Yeah.
And then in that, because I had the experience of no identification, I saw that it wasn't real. Boy, this may
Wow.
sound odd to viewers, but just because its mind said window, sky, tree, doesn't make it so. And the prior experience showed me that. So all four questions and turnarounds were born in that moment.
At that very moment,
Yeah,
when you saw and said, wait, well, what is this? Is this really a window? Is it true
I
that it's a
just saw it
window?
wasn't true. Like
Oh.
you looking at your hands, but they weren't there.
Yeah, they weren't, nothing was there. It was just
Well,
all
you had to
blackness.
believe that there are hands before you can see them.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay, so you saw how our thoughts and those constructs and beliefs that's a and definition of what is. That's a window. That's the tree. All those
And we do
things.
at the 9 Day School for the Work. We do every morning. We do the morning walk. I call it the morning walk. It's meditation, and we simply just repeat that experience. We go out into the beautiful air and in silence, and we'll just walk, and we might just walk by and see flower,
Mm-hmm.
tree, and then just silence in between. And then what begins to happen in that when we don't put a story onto first generation name, I call it, people have the most amazing experiences
Mm-hmm.
learning about how creative and wonderful the mind is,
Mm-hmm.
how clever the ego is in its attempt to identify
Mm-hmm.
and as something. But of
Mm-hmm.
course, mine can't be something. It's not physical.
Right.
It's not substance or material.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a thing.
When you're saying mind as a higher mind, like is that what you mean?
Well,
Like the
no,
higher.
any mind, any thought, you can't take it out and give it a bath or
Right. Okay, got so interesting. Okay, so when you think about that moment when a part where did the old part of you go, the egoic part or whatever you want to call it, the Katie that was depressed and lying on the floor, where did she go and
well,
what emerged?
what I began to see is um, she was a construct of mind.
Oh wow, okay. Wow, so you saw the whole thing as like a package story. That just like the
Yes, and
tree, the window, that was Katie.
yeah, she was a construct of mind. So she literally, I mean, the identity literally died. So it left me in who am I?
Wow.
So the woman on the floor discovering what isn't. or what is, what I believe to be, isn't.
Wow. Okay. So what emerged was this kind of clean slate. I want a clean slate, CJ.
Well, that's the beauty of the work. I don't
Yeah.
call it the work for nothing. These identities deserve respect. I mean,
Hmm.
the mind has to work full time. I want, I need, I should. It's a sky, I think. You know, it's, it's, that deserves respect. I mean,
Hmm.
that's everything,
Right.
everything.
Right.
So, I mean that literally.
Right.
So as as we do inquiry, I'll say, as you do inquiry, your identity shifts. For example, if you do, if you fill in a Judge Your Neighbor worksheet
Hmm.
and your viewers want to know what that is, it's on thework.com. It's always free. Just print it out or do it online. And and so you fill in the Judge Your Neighbor worksheet with what you're thinking and believing in a certain situation, any identity, any situation, and then you begin to question it. And if you write it, for example, from an angry state of mind that happened maybe yesterday, and you fill it in from that state of mind, then you question the judgments on that page that
Hmm.
you just wrote. And then you run into that person again that you were angry at, and you wonder where the anger went. It is the
Okay.
most marvelous. So, what's happened there is your identity has shifted.
Hmm.
That person has not changed.
Right.
The
My
way you
story and my
believe
identity.
that, who
Yeah.
you believe that person to be has changed.
Hmm. Hmm.
And
Okay.
it's not just that person. That worksheet, the concepts on that worksheet apply to everyone you've ever known or will know in your life. They also apply to yourself. So
You mean the
do it.
concepts that I changed shifted to like all liked in similar events of like if I felt
Yes,
like I was abused in that particular way, it applies to like my mother, my father, my the
yes,
bully at the playground. It just kind of
yes,
wholeheartedly shifts everything.
yes.
Wow,
Because
that's cool.
every time you experience the thought, you see it differently, you experience it differently, and there's just nothing you can do about it. You just become a kinder human being every time you do a worksheet.
Wow.
And
Okay.
and when I say do a worksheet, it really is, just identify your judgments on that worksheet, and then once they're identified, it's filled in. Then you question every judgment on the sheet.
Okay, we're going to do that because I
And
think
it's
one of the
meditation. We really are meditating on a moment in time.
right.
And yeah, so let's take a
Yeah,
look at
let's
the.
do it because I wanted to. Because one of the things that you say in the book, "Loving What Is that like you have to experience the experience of someone experiencing, it, so to speak. So I'm going to put myself out there in a way that is kind of a hard one because you talk about, and I saw a lot of comments on and you talk about in the book like someone has actually experienced a rape, and so I've had a spiritual rape where I actually had a set of body work done in which some things happened that I wasn't expecting to happen.
Uh-huh.
So it constitutes it's not like a someone threw me on the ground and raped me, something like that, but
Yeah,
it's a muddy area.
yeah.
So the question is it true? And yeah,
So what did you write? What did you write on
I
the
I wrote
worksheet?
down I'm angry. So with respect in the context of the spiritual rape, I'm angry
So
at
I'm
my
angry at God because
I'm
I just got a text.
I'm
Um,
I'm angry at myself and God that this happened to me, that the spiritual
okay,
rape happened.
let's see if I can get it here. You're angry at yourself. Let's say God.
Okay, I'm angry at God.
Okay, and you hold myself there. I'm just keeping
Yeah,
it simple
yeah,
because you were spiritually raped.
right,
So you were spiritually raped.
right.
So describe the situation. Are you on a table? Is it a massage? Is it a conference? What is
Yeah,
it?
it's a massage that happened that was explained one way and something else happened that I was not expecting. That
Okay.
to me felt like I mean, yeah, it's a rape sort of because I wasn't
Okay.
expecting. I didn't really know
So
exactly what to
was it
expect.
orgasmic? Was it
Yeah, it was.
okay? So you you were spiritually raped.
Right.
Is it true?
I can say, I'd say no. I mean, it's a mix, yes and no. Like,
Okay.
yes, I
So
can convince
so it's
myself yes, and I
really
can convince
it's
myself
it's
no.
really good that you answer this way,
Okay.
because for your listeners interested in inquiry, and for you, the answer, there's only four questions to the work.
Hmm.
The first two, the answers are either yes or no. So you have to meditate on that moment. And the question, we'll start with, is it true? The question, when you open, you're in that situation, you're on the table. So just meditate on that moment until you get a yes or no, until you're shown. So what I love about the work, we don't have
So
to answer
experience that
questions.
moment itself.
Ask,
Like,
it's shown to us.
do I experience the moment in which I developed that belief, or the moment when I was actually having that experience?
Go find out.
Okay.
Close your eyes. You were spiritually raped. She said it would be one thing, but you experienced another.
Okay.
And you
It was
see your experience. You were spiritually raped. Is
right.
it true?
Yes. I went to the one I was angry about it, and it's a man who did this work. Just to get the
But
facts right, correct.
okay, so it's okay that you went to the place where it's angry, but don't stop there.
Okay.
Stay there in the experience. Look around. Like you got to know. I mean, you
Okay.
got a yes, and that's okay.
Yes.
And you
Okay.
could continue to come out with yes, but we're meditating on a moment in time. You were spiritually raped. Did you miss anything? Look again.
Did I miss anything with respect to whether it was
In other
true or
words,
not?
did you just find the physical rape? I mean, the spiritual rape, and there was your answer. Or did you have you really looked beyond that, staying in that situation? You were spiritually raped. Is it true?
I would say that yeah. It's
And yes is
gray. It's gray.
okay.
It's gray. It's a gray between yes and no.
Yeah, okay. So it's
I have a
you're
strong logical
you're
mind, so
not
part of me
quite
goes, yeah.
sure.
Yes. Part of me goes, well, here's the thing, you actually
Yep. No, that's not. Now we're using logic.
okay.
Oh, see, I see you on the table
Right?
as me. I'm
Right.
on that table,
Right.
and I'm actually so connected with it. I can feel what I'm imagining you felt,
Okay.
whatever that is.
Well, what's funny because when I feel you feeling me, then I feel sad. I
Uh,
do feel sad. I'm like, oh, that
well,
happened,
I
Katie.
am, I am having an amazing experience.
Yeah, I actually had an amazing experience too. It was a very confusing experience because this thing that physically happened that I didn't expect. But then at the same time, I understood unconditional love for the first time. Like I had a
Oh
felt
wow!
experience of unconditional love that was delivered from this situation, I think from something through this person to me. And so I'm very confused because on one level it's like thank you because I
Yeah,
don't think I would have ever experienced this unconditional love
yeah,
without this person.
yeah.
But at the
Okay,
same time, there's some things that happened that were not
yeah,
kosher.
yeah. They were out of your control, basically.
Yeah. Yes. I didn't expect it. I was like, what?
Yeah.
I didn't know this was going to
Well, if
happen.
something happens, I don't expect it. That was out of my control.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, and that can really frighten people,
Right.
And when someone tells us something, we expect we don't expect the surprise. That's out of control.
Right.
So you were spiritually raped. Is it true? Can you really know that it's true? You were spiritually raped.
Okay. So am I supposed to answer yes or no?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I still feel that way.
Okay. So now just try a yes. Just a yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And then just feel that. Okay. And stay on the table and notice you're in this experience.
Mm-hmm.
And according to you, it was, you experienced unconditional love.
Right.
So you're on the table. Notice how you react in that experience when you think the thought I was spiritually raped, notice what happens to that beautiful experience.
Yeah, it's almost as if it negates that whole experience. Like I had this phenomenal experience
You
negates.
cut it off.
Yeah. Ah, yes.
You spiritually raped you.
Yes, I did. Yeah, fair enough. I did.
And what's the opposite of spiritually?
Um,
You physically
I physically,
cut
right.
you off of that experience.
Yes, I
As
have.
if
I'm
you
kind of like voided
spiritually,
from that experience. Since that point, because it's associated with this negative thing, I
yeah.
kind of remember it, but there's like a part of me that's like, yeah, but this preceded it, so it's truncated. That wonderful unconditional love,
So
truncated.
just notice what happened in that experience, the moment you had the thought.
I just get seriously pissed off. Like I just want to go
Yep.
punch someone.
So you went from divine experience to pissed off.
Yeah, to wanting to like punch the crap out of someone. Well, it's not someone, this
It's like, I
person.
don't care if it's unconditional love. I won't have it because I.
Okay, yeah, I can see that the
Okay.
story.
So now go back,
Okay.
that situation. So be there. And I often invite people to close their eyes. Is the whole process, we're meditating on a moment in time.
Yeah, I'm
So
I'm
just
trembling. I'm
notice.
getting scared. I'm getting
Yeah.
really scared.
Okay, so be gentle.
Okay.
Just be really gentle and
Okay.
just notice you're sitting in the chair. You're okay, right? You feel
Mm-hmm.
the support of the chair, your feet on the ground,
Mm-hmm.
your head moving, you grounded.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're okay here. So just considering that moment in time, that situation on the table, who would
Okay.
you be then without the thought, I've been spiritually raped?
Well, I would really just be enjoying this miraculous experience
Yeah.
instead of kind of like feeling trembly. Like I literally am trembling on the inside. Just like
Yes.
the whole part of me is vibrating thinking
People
about it.
fear love. The ego
Ah.
is terrified of it. So it just had to name it something terrible. And,
Oh, that's fascinating.
well, it's innocent, but that's how the mind is.
Mm-hmm.
The believer suffers.
But I'm still trembling, even in the midst of this. I'm
Well,
trembling,
that
even
was
knowing
that was huge for you, that experience. It was so amazing.
it
From
was.
what I hear from you, was so amazing that the ego just had to shut it off. You were losing self. It was losing self.
Oh, oh, I get it.
Self realization.
Oh my God. Okay, I get it. Because at that moment where I could feel pure unconditional love from a source, it wasn't this person, but it got very confusing because it felt like it was this
No,
person, but it wasn't. It was,
you can't even tell it.
yeah,
It's an experience.
yeah. So,
To some people, this could sound really weird, but we've all had those moments in time that they showed us something that we want back, or it was so frightening we're afraid of it.
yeah.
And it's an ego trick. It's how it can keep its identification. It's just not serious.
Ah, interesting. So my ego's like, well, you can't experience that.
Well, it's like if you look at just prior to the thought, in that experience there was no self.
There wasn't. I was
Oh,
gone.
so the ego just had to just grab at something horrendous just to keep its identification. So now I am the woman who has been spiritually raped and blah da 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 da. So the
Oh.
identity was intact. False
Ah.
identity intact.
Okay. Okay, got it. So, is it true? We answered yes. Can you absolutely know it's true? And I'm like, I don't know, yes or no. How
It
do you
was
react
intact.
when it happens? When you believe that thought,
You had yes to first two questions. Is
Yeah,
it true? Yes.
right.
Can I really know that it's true? Yes. How do I react when I believe the thought? It was amazing. It was unconditional love.
I get trembly, I get scared, my ego gets
Uh-huh.
scared.
How do you react when you believe the thought? Anger.
Right. Can punch the
Anger.
crap out of this
Anger.
guy.
And who would you be without the thought
Okay.
in that situation? Unconditional love.
No.
Nothing to
Interesting.
stop it.
Hmm.
And it's beautiful. There was no harm in it. You were safe in it.
Right.
Nothing terrible happened in it other
No.
than identification to cut it off.
Hmm. Hmm. Wow. Wow.
So now let's turn it around. I was spiritually raped. What is the opposite? Those of you new to the work, if you're still connected to this call, it's the question is those four questions we just walked through, and then we turn the concept around to see if maybe there's something there that would show us more. We just kind of try it on like a pair of shoes. What's the opposite of I was spiritually
Well,
raped?
and I can see that I spiritually raped myself, right? I had this unconditional love experience and I violently took myself out of that
Yeah, you
experience.
you violated that experience.
Yes. Okay. Yep. I spiritually raped myself. I can get there.
Yeah. So the spiritual rape turned around and opposite. I was not spiritually raped.
Okay. I was not spiritually raped. I can go there. You know, as I'm talking about this, I have this like roiling feeling in my stomach that's like, and I don't know if that's just coming,
Well,
it's
the
the next
ego
phase.
doesn't. It doesn't. It doesn't like to. It doesn't like to be confronted. It doesn't. It's like I was physically raped. That's it. And if I wasn't physically raped when I'm doing this work, rather than consider it, I am just going. Even though you are,
Right.
I'm just going to say, I don't like losing,
Oh,
but
I
we're
hate
just
losing.
losing inside ourselves.
Okay. I really hate losing. That must be part of it where it's like, no, I'm right.
We all, the work really gives us all an opportunity to look at winning and losing and right
Hmm.
and wrong, and how the ego wants no part of losing and it wants no part of being wrong. Otherwise, again, it's left with who am I?
Right. If I'm not right or if I'm not wrong, then what am I?
Who am I? Yeah, who or what am I?
Hmm. Wow. Yeah. I'm feeling less of that anxiety. Isn't that interesting? So it's the ego kicking up its objections.
That's all.
Wow.
That's all
Interesting.
it can ever be.
Hmm.
Who we are without our story is creative and fresh and fascinated and curious and there's nothing to fear out here, just like you on the table. It's entirely active, it's beautiful, and you were fine until the anger kicked in, but then you had other thoughts in there that you haven't identified yet.
Yeah. You mean other things that
They
happen?
would be, this is going too far. Oh
Mm-hmm.
my God, what's happening to me?
Mm-hmm.
This is scary.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what is he doing to me?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when you really get still in the situation and you write those thoughts down and then you just meditate on them and these four questions and turn around, you will blow your mind, and you're always safe. Where we're not safe is when we're fearful, and you were fearful.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying if I would take the questions like I was out of control or I didn't win or whatever my ego kind of kicks up, like taking the roiling feeling, I still have a little bit in my stomach and identifying what are the thoughts that are still
Go
coming
back to
up
the
with that,
table and find out.
and then do the work, those, and then keep on asking those four questions
Keep on,
on
go back
those.
to the table, be there, identify those thoughts, write them down, and then meditate on them using these four questions and turn around.
Wow. Okay. And then that's how I'll, that's one way of removing the story. That is,
Well, it's one way of seeing through the story.
okay.
So, I mean, how do you react when you believe the thought you're spiritually raped? How many people have you, well, the simple version is, have you gossiped about this person? Did he really hurt you, or was that all your own mind play on that table?
Yeah.
What did he have to do with it so far as we look at it?
Yeah, I have. Yeah. No, for me, it was, he's just a facilitator.
Yeah,
And we
yeah.
each
So
were on our
he's,
path, and that was his path,
yeah, yeah, and certainly yours.
and certainly mine.
And now, for me and all of your viewers, certainly ours.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it. It's very interesting because what this revealed to me is just a way of looking at this. But see, here's what I'm not sure if I would have gotten to this point
Well, I've
without being
spent
with
a
you.
lot of time holding you in that situation, always taking you back because your mind tends to come into the present to answer the questions rather than answering from the situation. In other words, on the table, staying there.
Right.
That's where post traumatic stress disorder starts right there
Ah, I
in
see.
that situation. And then every time we believe what our thoughts about that situation, we re traumatize ourselves. So we think
Ah,
it is a situation, but if we go back to that moment in time, the way that you have done here so beautifully,
hmm,
um, I mean, you can, if you finish a worksheet on this, when you think of that experience, you're going to go, oh my gosh, I wonder if he could do that again. Not really. That's, I'm a little far
right.
out with that. But when you think about that experience, it's very different.
Mm, mm. Yeah,
Very.
interesting. So it's really about,
Who hurt you on that table?
right. I hurt me on on that
Yeah.
table because
What
of
you
the story it created afterwards.
what you were thinking and believing. So
Mm,
you're completely innocent. There's not one thing you could have done to have had a different thought. Thoughts just arise, they happen. We're not doing them on purpose.
right. So don't go bashing myself like, why did I have that thought?
And you had no choice.
Right. You're saying because my ego is so strong.
Well, not only that, those are the thoughts that happened.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
couldn't have stopped them. I mean, you couldn't you haven't been able to stop them before or since. They come when they come.
So, this is not, I mean, this was a very, I don't know, almost a safe rape relative to other people who've gone through these rapes. I don't know if I'm minimizing or, because you've actually worked with lots of people that have
Yeah,
been on stage and talk about these kinds of situations.
yeah.
And do they arrive at a same place under like something that most people would say, yes, that's like uniformly deplorable.
Anyone that can get still enough to answer these questions and stay in that situation, anyone that can get still enough in these questions can set themselves free.
Mm,
We're only dealing with what we were thinking and believing in a specific situation about people, about the world. It's anyone can do this. Children do this so easily.
mm. And
You
when
know,
you say still enough, where I went to, I'm like, what does she mean? And in my head, I went to like where I'm just on the table and I'm just like an observer. I'm not like in my head having a story. I'm kind of the observer watching this thing in a safe place, just watching this thing, and I'm
yes. And
still and
getting
watching.
grounded like you did, just noticing the chair's holding you and the ground is holding the chair, and to get really grounded, you're okay. Look around, nothing can hurt you right now.
Right.
And so you can go back. You're safe to go back and be there then, now,
So you don't
to see
re-traumatize
what's
yourself.
true and to see what was really true and what was not as you look again.
Yeah. Okay. So the key thing is to be really still and actually putting yourself at that time when it happened, not
Yeah.
necessarily after all the stories were created and I made
No,
this person an awful
no.
person. You go right at the moment of when that
That's it.
happened. Interesting. Okay. There's more work to
That
do.
moment in time is where the trauma happened.
Right. Right. And so, no matter what the experience, I mean, a friend of mine witnessed you working with someone who was tortured by someone,
Yeah,
imprisoned. Yeah. So,
yeah.
you can get at this place.
Oh, sure, sure. The mind created it all. It can certainly go back and see what's true and what's not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the worst that can happen is you come out with what you already have. It's not
Uh-huh.
going to get worse.
Yeah. Okay, so before you did this work and you came, like, were transformed, described yourself as depressed. And a lot of people suffer with depression.
Ah,
How do you see our thoughts related to the depression that we feel?
Um, as um, as emotions are an effect of what we're thinking and believing,
Mm-hmm.
so they're equal.
Ah, okay.
They're completely equal. You know, look at the thought you had on the table and look at how that shifted the entire experience.
Right.
Cause and effect. Mine is cause, and your life is its effect.
Ah, so if I shift the thought, I will shift the depressing emotion or thought or
If
beliefs
you,
that I have.
for me, if I question the thought
Okay.
that I was thinking in that specific situation, then that experience shifts.
Hmm.
So my identity has shifted. I hold less anger in me.
Hmm. 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 Okay, so I want to talk about your own experience, and it seems like you just awakened at that moment. Like you literally woke up and you woke up. And did you ever return back to the old Katie?
You know, it's a process to answer your question. Yes, 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 and yes, and no.
Okay.
It's it's like it doesn't matter if it's a dream or not. In other words, you on that table is what you've been dreaming all this time, and it started with I've been spiritually raped.
Mm-hmm.
So you dreamed that, and so you're awake. You're more awake now to what really happened there.
So you're saying it's like a gradual awakening process for people who
Yes,
do the work, like little parts
yes,
of them awaken to who they truly are as they're doing
yes.
this stuff.
So I saw what created mind,
Mm-hmm.
and I saw what created the world.
Mm-hmm.
So even with that heavy dose, like 100%, like
Mm.
things would come in that were so strong, and I knew they weren't real. And that's where the work came from. That's where the judging and the
Ah, okay. So like all of a
I
sudden,
took dictation
okay.
from here. It's like if I had the thought my mother didn't care about me, I would see the images of her um, rejecting me, ignoring me, and I'd see my brother and sister and how she was so good with them, but not me. It was a movie. So
Um,
when it came, I would take those situations and I would take dictation out of my mind just the way you did from the table.
right. Ah,
Write them down. And so it stabilized.
okay.
It
And then after a
became
while,
stable and more stable because I had to, there was a thing in me that knew, obviously, that until I love the dream, I am just, I can't, until I love the dream, I can't love what makes the dream.
ah,
In
okay.
other words, loving what is all.
Including when when your mind runs amok and creates these stories. It's like I love that part too. Like this creative
Well, we
story.
don't though.
Huh?
We don't until it's true that
Ah,
we
okay,
love.
got it. Okay. Yeah, until we believe that that story, whatever it is
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
And to the extent that that story hurts us, like my mother doesn't love me, my family,
And
whatever.
that belongs on paper. All war belongs on paper.
And so over time, you describe in your book that people they kind of just jump, they don't have to fill out these worksheets over time, or what happens over time? And do you even go there anymore?
If I needed to, I would not hesitate. But
Yeah.
working with you, it just, it just continues to just be this amazing gift of nothing something. And the something is always an illusion.
Ah, I see. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Whether you're working with anyone, it's like, wow, it's so amazing how the nothing has become a something. Like how it's interesting. CJ had nothing
Nothing,
happen on this table, and now it's turned into this whole
yeah,
mega story.
yeah. And the only something that happened turned out to be your judgments.
Ah, yes.
I
Okay.
mean, without your judgments and the images of you there, you wouldn't, there's no way for you to know it even happened. It's a dream.
Hmm. Wow.
So just hearing that won't make any difference. It makes a huge difference. But then all of a sudden you see what's left of that, and it makes a big difference. It's your identification. So, um, I just judge your neighbor, write it down, ask more questions, turn it around,
Yeah. So
or
what I'm hearing,
suffer. It's like
yeah.
depression. That's where we were. It's like what depresses. We're believing
Hmm.
our thoughts. That's depression. What is the cause? We're thinking and believing our thoughts.
Mm.
And we're
So,
really being thought and being imaged.
so when we
Like if
actually,
everyone right now just thinks of an apple, just biting into an apple, and you saw the image, and so that would lead you to believe that there's such a thing as an apple, and it was only
mm-hmm,
in your mind.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So if you realize everything is a dream and that we create those things,
Yeah, a dream meaning like memory.
right,
Yeah, but
right,
memory is how the ego stays identified as a as an individual, um, separate, lonely, dependent life.
so when we remove these stories, these dreams, these memories of who we are defined by the ego,
We
we
can't
can,
remove them
what do we do?
when they appear. What
Uh,
we believe about them is just so radically different. Like when you think of you on the table, what do you think of it? What do you think of the experience now?
mm-hmm,
As opposed to the way you experience, I was spiritually raped. For me, it's like this: I was spiritually raped.
right,
I do the work. I was spiritually raped.
right,
I mean, spiritual is nothing. It's
right,
it's what we believe it to be.
right, right, right. No, I feel very, I feel neutral. I'm not elated.
Okay, that is different than anger.
Right. Yeah, no, I don't feel like punching someone.
Yeah.
Um,
See, there's one less angry person in the world. That is
hmm.
not a little thing.
Right. Yeah.
Less angry will
Yes.
do it. That's
Yes.
your contribution to peace.
Yes.
And what can we do? All the people that need peace in the world. What about the person we meet next, and the person on the
Mm-hmm.
street, and the person that
Mm-hmm.
says hello, and the people we work with? If I'm kinder, I am making a measured difference.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that is your contribution to peace, even if you're not aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
You're a kinder human being because you see that situation out of a less angry experience, a less angry you.
Okay, so folks, you're going to be coming here in Seattle on January 30th, and you're going to be speaking at the Center for Spiritual Living, and I will be there in the
Oh,
audience witnessing your glory and magic, and with these questions. Folks, we've been talking about loving what is. What can we expect when we go to your workshop in
well,
Seattle?
Invite. I'll do a Q&A where people ask questions,
Uh-huh.
and I answer, questions about the work, anything. And then I'll support people to fill in a judge your neighbor worksheet. I'll
Hmm.
guide them through slowly from top to bottom, and we have them there. And we have folders for everyone, and it's you don't have to know anything; just come follow the
Right.
simple directions. And then, if there are volunteers that want to do the work with me, then that's what I'll be doing.
Excellent. And so it's 9:30 to 5:30. That's a long session.
It is. We break for lunch, and it is.
Wow. I'm expecting big things.
Yeah.
Well, you know
Well,
what what the
it's so transformative,
yeah.
and I know what depression feels like. It is
Hmm.
such for some of us such a hopeless state of mind, and
Hmm.
there is a way out. So that's why I make that trip.
Yeah, one of my, I told you a girlfriend of mine has been doing the work for the last couple years, and I've noticed a visible change,
Yeah.
and she's really, really, really loved it. And what she said to me is, she said, if you go to the workshop, the thing is that because we're all human and we're having these experiences, you can relate your own experience to whoever is brave enough to go up and do
Yes.
their presentation, and it will change you.
Yeah.
So even though you're like, oh, I didn't get called, it doesn't matter. You're always called. You're good.
You know,
You're there.
that's so true. If you just go and you don't say a word and you just sit in these worksheets, it's like anyone reading their worksheet, you could have written it yourself.
Yeah.
And so, as I'm doing the work with people, even if you never say a word, you're being undone at the same time the person in the chair is being undone.
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't have to stand up there either.
Yeah, that's right. You don't have to stand up.
Thank you so much. This was
Oh,
absolutely delightful, and what a privilege to be able to meet and talk with you
oh,
live.
it's just so much fun to sit with you, and you are so courageous, and thank you for
Or
that.
stupid, I don't know. If you don't put yourself out there, if you don't, if like,
All of us.
you have to put yourself out there to help other people, even if it's putting yourself in a position that, am I embarrassed about it? Yes. Is it awful? Yes, but it's one of the worst things that could happen to someone. And so if someone can hear, I'm doing this, so hopefully someone who has been raped in a more violent way can listen to this
Yeah,
and maybe connect in the same way that you're talking about. So,
yeah.
all right. Thank
Yeah,
you.
we have some of us have suffered horrendous situations, and we really our mind would tell us there is no way out of this hell.
Yeah.
And I'm just here as an example of yes, there is.
Yes.
Yes, there is.
Yes.
And we can do it ourselves alone at home.
Hmm.
And it's all on the work.com and loving what is and a thousand names for joy and I need your love. Is that true?
Hmm.
Just to name a
A
couple
few
of the
of your
books
books,
out there.
yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for the work that you do. And thank you for helping me. That was huge. Very huge. Thank
Well,
you.
enjoy.
All right. All right. Blessings. Thank you so much.
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show. Would love your support in any way by giving me comments below or to subscribe to the show or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.